For this project, the goal is to paint your own house or apartment or condo or just wherever you live. This is a photograph of my house. It is in Sanford, North Carolina, and this house is from around 1919 to 1923. I don't think they really know exactly when. And it's looking really nondescript this time of year, so I just went outside and took a picture. But I think I'll fix that by putting the ferns back in and some of the potted plants I have and the azaleas that are not blooming here. So this is the drawing that I made, and when I did the drawing I had to make some corrections from the photograph. You can see that as from the perspective of where I was standing, it made some of the upright supports bend in. And I think it'll look better to have them be straight. So I went ahead and drew out all the key features, and I made a lot of a mess with some erasure marks and things. So I think that the alcohol and the cotton ball will both lighten the drawing, I hope, and take care of some of this residue. So I'm going to work on that, and then I'll begin masking. For the masking, I am going to mask the white trim and all of the key lines of the house. For the background inking, I'm going to start with the sky and just put in some cloudy blue and some alcohol and just create kind of a light and dark blue pattern. I'm not going to worry about all the trees at this point, and I may choose to represent this as a different time of year, and in that case all of this would be wooded anyway. So to ink around something like this, I usually turn the paper upside down so that the ink falls away from the subject. And I'm going to start on this side and just kind of trace around it. And I think I'll just let that dry flat. It's been drying for a few minutes. It's not going to go anywhere. So now I'll pick it up and I'm going to put in some meadow. I'll put it all the way around here. We'll pretend that I have grass growing. There's really not a lot of grass there. I'll let that dry flat as well. Okay, it's probably enough backgroundish ink to get us started. Well, maybe not. I'll put in the brick. This is some currant, and I just put it in kind of a terracotta color. So it's not really terribly accurate, but I'm going to put some flowers in front of all this anyway. Our town used to be called the brick capital of like USA or something. We used to make a lot of bricks here, but that business has kind of disappeared. Run the bricks. Over bricks. I think it's really just cement. So now that the ink is relatively dry, I'm going to take off the masking fluid and find the outlines of the house. Well, that was all the easy stuff. Now we need to actually start working on the house. And I'll begin with the alcohol and the brush and just kind of clean up the edges. I purposely just let some color run through, you know, just with the masking. So I'm going to clean that up and then probably use some eggplant to put in some of the shadows. Might be able to actually tone some of the white just by grabbing some of this excess ink here. While the trim, you know, I masked it to be white in reality it's not white, probably because it's pretty dirty, but also it's just not white because of the shadows. Now that was a bit of a alcohol error there, so we'll see what we can do about that. So this is the eggplant here, and I'm going to use it for the roof, some of these shadows, and some of the darker parts of the windows and doors. And out of curiosity, this is where I paint. I paint right there. So when you hear the road noise, it's coming from that window right there. And the side of the chimney is also in shadow. The house actually has another chimney, 2 more fireplaces, but it's back behind there and we can't see it. So that makes it a little easier for us. They don't work, they're closed over, but at one time they did. Now I'm going to do some lifting with the pointy swab, and has some sort of a siding on the house, so we'll see if we can just kind of lift out that design. And there's some architectural elements under the roof line. I don't know if it's not really like dentilation, but I'm not really sure what it's called. We'll see about putting some of that in. At this point, I'm going to switch to some markers, and I'll just go around. This is a light kind of beigeish color, and just tighten up some stuff, and there's some extra articulation that I'll start to put in. I've got some curtains in here. Since I film in this room, I have to keep the curtains so that the light comes in, doesn't cause a lot of shadows. There's really old glass on these windows, so it's kind of has that wavy texture to them. This is a darker color, kind of a, not as dark as I thought. Really a darker color. And maybe too dark. So now we're at one of those points in the painting where we think, I wonder what we should do next. It's looking not very well finished, but I don't really know what to do. So I think I'll start working on the background. So let's give it the house somewhere to live. And we have, as a benefits, some passages of light behind the house. So that will help us with these shadows and let the house kind of sit on the land. So I'm going to pull out these lighter areas and then start to pull out some of these areas where the trees are. And I'm going to use the pointy swab and some alcohol. some of this. This is all just kind of woodsy forest back through here. And in the summer, of course, this is really all just full of leaves. I'll do kind of the same thing on this side. And there's really a tree all the way, lots of places. Now moving from early spring to summer. This is a green marker, and I'm going to add in the hanging ferns, which there's 2 of them. Actually, sometimes I have 3 of them, in case the 3rd one's kind of over here. And some more of the bushes that are either in shadow or just looking rather anemic this time of year. And I actually have some potted plants that sit up on here. There's 2 levels of this. Just kind of sketch them in. And this is a dark red marker. I'm going to use it for the brick. So we'll go around and do a little softening, and then we'll try to bring this all together. We've got some very light spots through here, so let's see if I can figure that out a little bit more. One of the things we probably need to fix is this arc in the grass, and I think I'll just start with, this is a cotton ball and some meadow, and see if I can just break it up a little bit. I'm going to continue our landscaping. This area is not coming out as light as I'd like, so the next choice is to make something darker behind it. So this is a dark brown marker. So this is a similarly colored one. Ah, that's much darker. This is the sepia pen, and we'll add some of these finer trees and tree branches in. Okay, this is a black micron pen, and I'm going to start adding some of the detail in. Before I use the black pen on this other roof line, I have lost some of the white trim, so I'll have to find it again.
And obviously we can see this is getting very linear looking, so we'll fix it. I don't want it to be as linear as it is now, but I do want to find everything, find all the parts of the house.
So I let the piece sit overnight. I was in the middle of tightening it up. And I think instead I'm going to loosen it up now by splattering some alcohol with this chip brush. And I will then continue working on it after I've gotten a little more action happening.
And this is the brush and alcohol. And instead of continuing down with the tightening, I'm actually just going to loosen back up a bunch of what I did. I put some citrus and bottle in the palette here, and I'm going to just add some leaves. This is a little bit of lemonade. I'm going to use it to lighten up this area that has a little sun coming through. I'm going to continue just with the foliage in the back area. This is some brown that was in the palette. This is more alcohol in the brush. I'm going to add some highlights to my ferns. In the spring, we do have azaleas here, and they're kind of pink. So we'll go back to a little bit more defining. And then I think the white pen will really help. And this is the white pen. So bit by bit, we're actually getting closer. This is a light green marker. Try it again on these ferns. This is a pale blue. And we'll run the brush through that. And I want to soften just a few more lines. And I'll do another little splatter. And call it good for now. May not be forever, but for right now, I'm calling it good.